Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. Let's start by taking a look at the day's headlines. A new-look team tasked with turning the South Korean economy around. President Moon Jae-in's economic policy advisor says he will work in tandem with the president's nominee to be finance minister. A juicy gift for North Korea. South Korea is sending thousands of boxes of tangerines from Jeju Island to the north. It's Seoul's way of saying thank you for the pine mushrooms North Korea sent to the south in September. Plus, marking a solemn date, ceremonies marking the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War have taken place across Europe. Our top story this morning, though, President Moon Jae-in is shaking up his administration's economic team in a bid to refocus efforts on his ambitious plans to structurally change South Korea's slowing economy. The two officials that will lead those efforts have pledged to work as a team to ensure the focus stays on the task at hand. Our Blue House correspondent Shin Se-min starts us off.
President Moon Jae-in's newly appointed Chief of Staff for Economic Policy, Kim Soo-hyun, says he will be working hand-in-hand with Finance Minister nominee Hong Nam-gi should Hong be confirmed. Speaking to reporters on Sunday, Kim said Hong will be in charge of managing forthcoming economic issues that need to be addressed. Kim said the government's economic team will continue to advance the foundation laid by their predecessor that pursued income-led, innovative growth and a fair economy.
The new presidential economic team will promote income-led growth policies to rev up job creation and boost wages. We have to overcome growing income inequality, the low birth rate, and slowing economic growth by accelerating policies centered on redistribution.
The finance minister nominee echoed Kim's remarks, saying the government will do all it can to improve the people's livelihoods and push for structural reforms that stimulate income-led growth. Upon being nominated last Friday, Hong said that while the economy is in a transitional period, South Korea has to carry out necessary economic reforms to lay the foundations for sustainable growth. He said the goal is to create a nation where all people can live well, with both innovation and income-led growth contributing to the economy. Expectations for the Moon administration's second economic team are high, especially after the first team led by outgoing Finance Minister Kim Dong-yeon and Chang Ha-sung, now the former presidential chief of staff for policy, had drifted apart as they were at odds over key policies. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
The two Koreas are holding a second meeting of their joint roads research group today at their liaison office just north of the border. Seoul's Unification Ministry says the group will discuss schedules for inspecting roads along the east coast. South and North Korea's land ministries are sending a 5-member delegation and an 8-member delegation respectively. The group's first meeting was in mid-August. At that time, they conducted a week-long inspection of western roads between the North Korean cities of Kaesong and Pyongyang. At high-level talks last month, the two sides also agreed to hold a groundbreaking ceremony for connecting and modernizing railways and roads late this month or in early December. But railways inspections are being delayed due to concerns over sanctions violations. Seoul says it plans to consult closely with the US and the UN command on the matter. Yet another historic step in the movement for peace here on the Korean Peninsula. According to a government source here in Seoul, the two Koreas have now completely withdrawn troops and firearms from dozens of their guard posts on the border. Work to remove them began at the start of the month and was part of the commitments made by President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at their summit in Pyongyang. The two sides will demolish those guard posts by the end of the month, all except for one each. After that, they will discuss removing all their guard posts, of which there are more than 200. The South Korean government is sending tens of thousands of tangerines from the southern resort island of Jeju to North Korea. Seoul's gesture comes a couple of months after the North gave South Korea 2 tons of pine mushrooms. Our Blue House correspondent Hangeul with the details.
200 tons of Jeju delights, 20,000 boxes, 10 kilograms of tangerines in each, divvied up into 4 military cargo planes and sent to North Korea in a total of 4 shipments until Monday. South Korea's presidential office of Cheongwade says they are a return present from the top office to North Korea after the North sent 2 tons of songi, or pine mushrooms, to Seoul in September following the third summit between President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, which was held in Pyongyang. The officials tasked with overseeing the tangi delivery are Vice Unification Minister Chun Hae-sung and Presidential Secretary for Unification Policy Seo Ho. The Blue House spokesperson said Sunday that tangerines were chosen because not only are they in season right now, but also because tangerines are rare in North Korea. He said the Blue House decided on such a huge amount as it wanted as many North Koreans as possible to taste them. This is the biggest shipment of South Korean goods to North Korea since 2010, which is when inter-Korean relations went spiraling down following North Korea's attack on a South Korean warship in March that year, killing 46 sailors. Asked whether the shipment breaches international sanctions on North Korea, the Blue House asserted it does not, as the tangerines are merely a reciprocal gift with no strings attached. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Leaders from around the world gathered in France on Sunday to mark 100 years to the day since the end of World War I. The leaders of France and Germany used the solemn occasion to warn against nationalism. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Noah Adams. Adam, tell us more.
Well, Mark, during the ceremony at the Arc de Triomphe, French President Emmanuel Macron spoke bluntly of the threat from nationalism, calling it a betrayal of moral values. His comments came as US President Donald Trump, who has called himself a nationalist, sat just a few meters away.
This vision of France as a generous nation with a vision which carries universal values has been, in those dark times, exactly the opposite of the selfishness of a people which only looks at its own interests. Because patriotism is the exact opposite of nationalism. Nationalism is its betrayal. By pursuing our own interests first, with no regard to others, we erase the very thing that a nation holds most precious, that which gives it life and makes it great, its moral values.
Also in the audience was Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was the last to arrive at the ceremony. Several world leaders held bilateral meetings at Sunday's events. Putin told reporters that he did not meet Trump because they didn't want to interrupt the schedule of the host, which was France. The Russian leader gave a brief thumbs up to Trump upon his arrival. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Angela Merkel echoed Macron's sentiment on nationalism during the Paris Peace Forum, which was held just after the armistice ceremony. She warned that, quote, blinkered nationalism was gaining ground in Europe and elsewhere. President Trump was absent from that event and left for the US shortly after it began. At least 25 people have now died in California in what is being described as the US state's most destructive wildfire in history and also the third deadliest. More than 100 people are still missing in northern California as the flames continue to leave towns and homes in ruins. The so-called Camp Fire, which began Thursday, is just one of 3 major wildfires that firefighters are battling across the state. An estimated 250,000 people have been forced to flee their homes. California Governor Jerry Brown has asked President Trump to declare a major disaster to boost the emergency response and also to help recovery efforts. In a series of tweets in recent days, Trump has drawn anger by saying that poor forestry management is to blame for the fires. But on Sunday, he did extend his sympathies to the victims. Now, we all love a good bargain, but nothing simply comes close to the massive purchasing power and determination of Chinese shoppers on their annual Singles Day. This year's 24-hour shopping rush saw More sales records broken, and according to our Arirang, South Korean beauty products were among some of the best-selling items.
It took less than 2 minutes for Chinese shoppers to spend $1 billion after the clock struck midnight on Sunday, marking the start of the country's massive annual spending event known as Singles' Day. According to local e-commerce giant Alibaba, shoppers were faster and more determined than ever to grab a bargain on its online bazaars. Sales hit $10 billion just an hour into the shopping frenzy. That's 5 minutes and 21 seconds faster than last year and 10 minutes faster than 2015. It seems consumers had a huge appetite for digital products, with Apple, Xiaomi and Dyson topping sales during the first hour. The best-selling products from overseas came from Japan, the United States and South Korea. Among South Korean products, facial masks, perfumes and other cosmetics products were said to have been the most popular. Compared to the year before, Korean beauty brands LG Household and Healthcare and Innisfree saw sales figures jump 58% and 83% respectively. Alibaba says over the 24-hour period, orders exceeded 1 billion shipments, worth some $30.8 billion. That marks a 27% increase from 2017. Despite the record-breaking figure, the margin of growth has fallen, perhaps reflecting concerns that consumer sentiment is dwindling in the world's second-largest economy, amid trade tensions with the United States. Still, the sheer scope of the shopping event is bigger than the transaction volume of Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined. This year marked the 10th anniversary of the Singles' Day festival, also known as Double 11's Day, as it falls on November 11th. Arirang, Arirang News.
Back to some local news now. The National Assembly's Budget Committee is holding its final questioning session today over the government's roughly $420 billion spending plan for 2019. The Conservative opposition is seeking massive cuts, especially the spending allocated to create public sector jobs and the budget for inter-Korean projects. But the ruling party is pressing for the budget to be passed as it is in order to revitalise the economy as well as foster peace on the peninsula. Starting Thursday, a subcommittee of the Budget Committee will get down to business as they cut or hike specific parts of the budget. Several of the Assembly's standing committees are also reviewing the budget in their respective areas. Now, there's no doubt now that K-pop superstars BTS are one of the biggest names in world entertainment right now, but they're also at the center of a huge controversy. In Japan, a Japanese TV station has cancelled an appearance by the 7-member boy band over a T-shirt worn by one of the members. Lee Seung-jae reports.
A major Japanese television station has pulled an appearance by the hugely popular K-pop group BTS, citing controversy over a T-shirt with an image of an atomic bomb that a member wore last year to celebrate Korea's liberation from Japan after World War II. This comes as a Japanese newspaper slammed the group last month for, quote, anti-Japanese activities, noting the T-shirt worn by group member Jimin and an SNS message posted by the group's leader, RM, in celebration of Korea's Liberation Day on August 15th. Jimin's T-shirt was emblazoned with English words such as patriotism, our history, liberation, and Korea, among black and white photos of a rising mushroom cloud created by an atomic bomb, and of Koreans celebrating the end of Japanese colonial rule of Korea in 1945. RM's SNS message was posted more than 5 years ago. Given the global popularity of the group, several international media outlets reported on the controversy. While CNN referred to the T-shirt as showing an image of the bombing of Nagasaki, Reuters said the T-shirt showed an image of the bombing of Hiroshima. While many Japanese BTS fans have shown understanding, the issue has sparked an uproar in Japan, leading to a rise of anti-Korean movements throughout the nation. It also comes as ties between the two neighbors have frayed due to a diplomatic row over South Koreans forced to work for Japanese firms during World War II, and a recent ruling by South Korea's Supreme Court ordering a Japanese steel company to pay almost $90,000 to each victim. With the t-shirt controversy raging, BTS canceled plans to leave for Japan last Thursday night for the TV appearance, but the group will go ahead with this Japan tour. The string of concerts begin in Tokyo from Tuesday. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The South Korean Air Force is getting a major upgrade today with the arrival of its first in-flight refueling tanker that will dramatically increase the range of the nation's fighter jets. Yonhap News Agency cites a military official as saying the tanker will arrive at Gimhae Air Base near Busan, after which it will be put through a series of tests. Those tests will include attempting to refuel F-15K and KF-16 fighters in the air. The tanker is made by the defense arm of Airbus. And with 3 more tankers to be added to the fleet next year, the total cost is going to be about $1.3 billion. Right now, South Korea's fighter jets can operate for only a matter of minutes on 1 tank of fuel, but a refuel from one of the new planes will allow them to operate for over an hour. A new report shows South Korea's smaller manufacturers, especially those in the auto parts and metal work sectors, are going through a much tougher time than bigger firms here in the nation. A big drop in output this year is pointing to a further slowdown in Asia's 4th largest economy. Won Jong-hwan with the details.
Data from Statistics Korea show production by smaller manufacturers was down in the first 9 months of this year by 4.3% due to a slump in automaking and shipbuilding. It's the biggest drop since 2009 when production plunged by 8.8% amid the financial crisis. And looking more closely, these smaller manufacturers with fewer than 300 employees have been hit far worse than big businesses, whose production fell for the first time in 3 years, but only by 0.4%. Experts saying the gap between the big and small manufacturers is likely to widen, which is worrying, especially in key industries like cars and ships. And as investment in the sector slows down, especially in smaller and newer manufacturers, Korea might miss a chance to boost employment. According to data released Sunday by the Bank of Korea, startups in manufacturing tend to create more jobs in the long term than the service sector. The report says a 1 percentage point rise in the founding of new manufacturing firms will bring about 3.3 percentage point gain in employment over a 10-year period. In particular, newly founded companies in the machinery and automobile sectors could push up the employment rate by 17 percentage points and possibly solve the country's unemployment problem. Won Jong-hwan, Arirang News.
Now, as we heard in that report there, unemployment really is one of the main issues facing South Korea at this current time. To get a competitive edge, though, job seekers here in the country have recently started using artificial intelligence AI programs to get feedback about their resumes and also their approaches to landing, hopefully, their dream job. Jo Sung-min reports.
Job seekers are waiting in lines at this job fair to get their resumes checked by AI programs. They punched in their resume and self-introduction letter into the device, and it immediately pulls off a graph showing their strengths and weaknesses. The machine also summarizes personality traits and areas of interest, and even outlines effective steps to become more suitable candidates for any type of job.
I tend to feel uncomfortable hearing opinions about my resume from my friends and colleagues, but having it analyzed and presented by AI feels less personal and much more objective.
Software engineers say the AI programs pick up specific words used in the resume and lay out the most objective analysis using thousands of text samples.
It listed leadership as one of my weaknesses, and the analysis was quite convincing. I decided to change my approach regarding job seeking and listen to the device's report.
Amid the increasing implementation and inclusion of AI in all aspects of everyday life, companies have jumped on the bandwagon and started using AI in their recruitment process. Experts say the data obtained through the current AI technology will develop better versions that could be used for both employers and job seekers in a not-so-distant future. Jo Sung-min, Arirang News.
Korea has been introducing the uniqueness of its language to people from all over the world at an international language fair in London. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism and the Sejong Institute provided a variety of educational materials and experience events related to the Korean alphabet Hangeul from Friday to Sunday at the Language Show 2018. Some 5,000 people visited the Korean booth and enjoyed learning and experiencing Korean through online applications, calligraphy and a Korean language class useful for travelling to Korea. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the London International Language Fair. More than 60 countries took part at this year's event. Now, foods made with flour contain allergens that can cause that uncomfortable, bloated feeling. And that's why one of the reasons why South Korean researchers have developed a variety of wheat that's free from those kind of substances. Park Se-young with more.
A recent survey found that 1 out of 10 housewives in Korea's capital area felt bloated or had digestion problems after eating products containing processed flour. To prevent such symptoms, Korean researchers have developed the world's first allergen-free wheat variety named O-Free. O-Free was created by crossbreeding the most widely grown Kumgang variety of wheat with 올구름일, which is high-yielding and has a stronger erect stalk. Over successive generations, the researchers found that the allergens and substances responsible for causing celiac disease, a severe form of gluten intolerance, completely disappeared.
Results of protein analysis and seroreactivity experiments at preclinical levels showed no allergic reactions, and it's just as suitable for making bread or cookies as common wheat.
The global gluten-free food market is projected to surpass $12.5 billion by 2024. In preparation for O-Free's entry into international markets, the Rural Development Administration has applied for patents in the US, China, and Europe. However, experts suggest additional research is needed due to the new crop's low yield as well as pest and disease management. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Good morning. The first thing many Koreans do right after waking up these days is probably checking the fine dust levels. And unfortunately, many Indian regions will have high levels of fine dust today, with an ultra-fine dust advisory being in place in Daejeon, Chungcheong, Bukdo, and Jeollabuk-do provinces. And the chilly morning will turn to double-digit afternoon highs, and unlike the murky skies we had yesterday, most parts will get plenty of sunshine today. And daily highs will range between 13 and 18 degrees Celsius. Seoul getting up to 13 degrees. Chuncheon, Daegu, and Jeju will get up to 16 degrees this afternoon. Meanwhile, regions in the east will see showers due to easterly winds in the afternoon. Now, this week is an important week for Sunung test takers. The college entrance exam that's conducted only once a year will take place on Thursday. Well, thankfully, the weather will be calm under mostly sunny skies in most parts of the country. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world. Well, that's all we have for now on this Monday morning here in Seoul. We hope your week
is off to a great start. Do stay tuned to us here on Arirang TV. We'll have our next newscast coming up at noon Korea time with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. So until then, goodbye.